All right, so we're recording episode 48.
Welcome to Seeking Focus, a podcast that provides photographers and videographers with a place to critically compare technology, share ideas, and enhance their skills.
It is 48, isn't it? Mate, time goes quick.
It does.
Wow. It's it's been an interesting week actually. I've had a couple of shoots and came across this client, and I talked to you about that, didn't I? I think we got to do an episode on that as well. The clients asked me to be exclusive.
Oh, was that? Sorry, I was wondering which client you were referring to. I was like, which client are you referring to this time? But yes, that was one thing that we did discuss. Maybe it could be an episode. Yeah,
I think it might be. I mean, I'm looking at it, and I'm waiting for it to be sort of finalized a little bit more. But long story short, I've shot for this client probably about 3 or 4 times already. Great, everything worked out well. They were happy with everything, and all of a sudden they came to me and they go, can you just be exclusive to our industry? And I go, what does that mean?
You should have said, you could employ me 5 days a week. I'll do your videos.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Why not? Come on.
Because I'm a freelancer. I can tell people to get stuffed.
And when was the last time you told someone to get stuffed?
Not really.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it was just an interesting thing where he turned around and he goes, you can't work in this particular industry. You know what I mean? And I was just like thrown back at it a little bit, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Oh, we might do an episode on that. It was an interesting
scenario.
Yeah, I came to you with it, and it's
You only come to me when you're in trouble.
No, that was just an advice thing.
It's when you're in trouble.
But yeah, stand by. Maybe with that, maybe 49 or 450 episode.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to do. But how are you going, man?
Yeah, not bad. I'm still recovering from the hit and run accident from a few weeks ago, and so I really can't do too much, so I'm sort of housebound. But I did spend the day today sharpening my Japanese knives. I've got all these kitchen knives.
I didn't know you were a Japanese knife man.
I am. And I collect them. Don't ask me how I got into them, because it's a weird sort of collection, but I'm learning how to do really nice dicing and cutting and sharpening.
Making sushi?
Sushi is one thing that I'm not going to touch, because I'm not really into raw fish. I mean, I eat it, but it's not something that I'm going to see myself doing on a regular basis, where I can justify spending so much money on a knife and making a dish maybe once every 2 years, so I won't go there. But so I was sharpening the knives today, and they're all carbon steel, so they become really sharp. And as I was sharpening, I was like, oh yeah, look at me go, because I've mastered the art. Well, I won't say mastered it, but I've gotten a lot better at sharpening. And so I finished today, and I was wiping the blades, because with carbon steel you can't leave water on them, because it oxidizes and it becomes rusty straight away. Like within 1 minute your whole knife starts rusting up. So I was drying them, and I was using this really thick, like, I won't say napkin, tablecloth sort of, I don't know what the hell it is, hand towel.
Yeah.
And I was wiping them. What I didn't realise until I turned around and saw this trail of blood was that the actual knife, while I was drying it, cut right through the actual the
cloth.
Thank you, and into my hand, and it was so sharp that I didn't even feel it, and it cut into my finger, and it was, it wasn't. I didn't have to go to hospital and get stitches or anything like that, but it was deep enough to just piss out blood everywhere.
Yeah, right.
And I turned around, I saw this blood all over the floor, and I'm like, where the hell? And then I realised, and I went, oh yeah, that's sharp. Yeah. And then my daughter walked in and started screaming, and I'm like, no, don't scream, your mum's going to hear it.
Yeah.
But that's my week. So what's today's episode about?
Mate, I can actually officially say I'm a DJI fanboy, mate.
You've always been a DJI fanboy.
I've got, I was just telling you before we started this episode, I can line up all the DJI drones that I have, and I've got 5 or 6 of them, different types. I've got the Mini 3 Pro, then I've got the Mavic 3, then I've just purchased the new Mavic 4, and that's what this episode is about. And I've got my M30T, which is the Matrice thermal drone, and I've got my Inspire 3.
The homeless suitcase person walking down the oval from the previous episode.
That's the one. So, so last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, DJI released this new flagship drone, essentially. And it's
so is this more newer than the one in the suitcase that you were dragging down?
Yeah, it is. So that one there actually uses the new OcuSync 4, where the Inspire 3 still uses OcuSync 3.
I have no idea what that means, but
meaning that the connection between the drone and your controller, essentially, you can go further. You know
okay.
Look,
how much further can you go? Because I mean,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, legally wise, you got to fly at line of sight. Right?
Yeah, and I mean,
you're not going to see this past a kilometer, 500 meters. I'd say you probably won't even see it.
You wouldn't see it. I remember the original Mavic that I had, Mavic 1. I think we both started off with the Mavic 1.
Yeah, we did.
I was lucky to see that after 200 meters.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a small drone. It wasn't huge either. But, and I remember that there was, I don't know how true it was, but they were saying there was like, you could 7 kilometers distance. You could
yeah. Like, I think this one here is like 20 something, which is, you know, just ridiculous because, you know, like reality of it is like, you're doing it for small jobs. Well, for jobs, yeah. But like, yeah, you can fly it out a kilometer away and it will come back and everything else. And the battery life on this newer one is increased, which is great. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to be flying for 10 kilometers, you know what I mean? Seriously, like, reality of it is there's no way, there's no point. And there's safety-wise, it's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, granted. But in some countries, you know, there's those islands in the middle of the ocean, like just one island after another.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to do a flight through them, and there's probably no restrictions in those countries anyway, so there probably wouldn't be any issues. But that would actually probably be something that you could actually, you know, use.
Look, with the connection, yeah, probably would. And it's great. I mean, look, there's a couple of really good features on this drone, and that I want to sort of get into it. But also there is a lot of features that need to be improved, and hopefully they can be improved with firmware upgrades. So look, this episode I wanted to sort of more...
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you spoke to me about this drone, I don't think what you just said now really captures the issue that you want to discuss today. There is an issue with this drone, right?
There's a few issues.
I like that. I'm not a specialist in drones, but when you told me, I was like, what? I actually kind of laughed, first of all, because, but anyway, that's another story. But there is an issue with this drone. Well, at the moment, there's an issue anyway. Potentially it might be rectified down the track, but there is an issue which we will be talking about. All right. I just wanted to make that clear from the beginning, that there is an issue with it. Yeah,
well, there's issues with any drone. And, I mean, essentially... that's one of the reasons why I have so many different types of drones, because you can't do the specific job with one particular drone, you know what I mean? You have to have multiple drones to be able to do certain... I don't know. My Mini 3's done some amazing stuff. You can tell that I'm really into drones. No, but look, I'm looking at it now because you've got it sitting on the floor with the other drones surrounding it. It's like they're having a tea party. And it's an impressive looking unit. It's not as impressive as the Inspire. The Inspire was just... factor.
Yeah, it was like, I just want to buy one because I can tell everyone how big it is. Like, look how big it is. Yeah, I just don't know how to use it, but it's big. It is a big unit, and I can see some differences between that and the previous version. But yeah, look, tell us about it. What exactly?
Yeah, look, you know, so the main episode component is, look, I've watched, and I got it because I feel like the 3-camera system is a big deal for me. And there's a few other things that I sort of looked at and I go, this is really cool.
The previous one didn't have 3 cameras, or it did?
Yeah, so I've upgraded from Mavic 3. Not the Pro version, but just Mavic 3. So I had that drone since it came out. So essentially when it came out, I bought it straight away as well. And what it does, it's got a 2-camera system on it, which is the 24mm lens on it, and then the 160, I think it is, or 150 around there somewhere. But what I've noticed, the 150mm camera, it's literally unusable. Like, you can use it for, you know, just to see it,
but you wouldn't be able to.
You wouldn't be able to use it for a client shoot.
What's wrong with it? Well,
you can't shoot in D-Log, number one. So you can't shoot log, and also the quality of the image is not as good as the new one is potentially.
I gotta say, 150 mil on a drone is not something I would have expected. Look, I'm not a drone person. I'm, you know, obvious from previous episodes, but 150 is not something that I would even remotely think would be suitable for a drone. But
yeah, it's actually quite good, and you can get some particular shots with that lens where it's going to give you a lot better. Okay, so I'll give you an example, for instance, right? So if you're flying in the mountains, for instance, right, and you're sitting on top of a mountain and you're flying the drone out and you want to zoom in on your subject or your person that you want, and you're circling around them. So as you know, with the zoom lenses, if you zoom in on one thing, the back of it will become compressed and out of focus. Will give you that separation between your subject and the background, like a huge separation.
Yeah.
For a drone, it's a very specific shot. You know what I mean? It's almost to a point where you can't get it with anything else other than a helicopter. You know what I mean? So that's where this comes into play. That makes sense.
So I'm visualizing it from a non-drone sort of background, and I'm thinking the only thing that I could possibly use a lens like that is when I'm spying on my neighbours, and I don't want to make it obvious that I'm spying on my neighbours.
Essentially,
So I'm a kilometre away, and I'm still looking through their front window.
Well, your last episode, you purchased your 7200, right?
That's very true. Yeah.
So it's very similar to that sense, but you will get different type of shots. So I want to focus on the. I'm not going to be, I guess, what do you call it?
A fanboy? I think you're past that.
Yeah, no, I've definitely enjoyed that drone, and but I don't want to be like everybody else on YouTube's and whatever else, how amazing this thing is and what it can do and all this sort of stuff. So what I want to do is really talk about the things that I sort of need to be improved with it, rather than how amazing this thing, and it is amazing, and that's why I love it. And don't get me wrong, there are a few things there that are probably going to say, "What the hell are you thinking about?" But overall, it is a phenomenal technology in this drone. Is bloody fantastic. You know what I mean? So, just to sort of give you an idea, so as you can see, it's got 3 lenses at the front, right?
Yep, a Hasselblad as well.
Yeah. So the big one, that's on top, that's a 28mm lens.
Yep, wide angle, that's good.
The one on the, I can't remember, left or right, that's a 70mm lens.
Okay, yep.
And the one on the other side is 168mm lens.
Okay. Does it suffer from the issues on the previous one?
No, and that's the thing. They fixed that now. So now all 3 lenses shoot in D-Log, right? 4K, actually 6K. Is it 4K or 6K? I can't remember now. The 28mm definitely shoots in 6K, right? The 70, pretty sure it does still shoot in 6K, but I can't remember if the 168mm lens shoots in 6K. I'm pretty sure it only does 4K. I need to probably redo that.
So I have a question, right? Sorry, and this is from my limited experience with DJI Mavics and the Mini 3 and stuff. I've always found that the image quality has never been as good as, like, say, a DSLR or a cinema camera or something like that.
Yeah,
it's never been sharp. It's never been that real crisp. I mean, has this particular one gotten better, or is it still?
Definitely. No, it's amazing. I can show you some footage that I took for a client, but it's phenomenal, like really good.
So you could basically stick it on a tripod and film.
Oh yeah. Right. You can, anything better than this, that'll be the Inspire 3.
Okay.
Image, you know what I mean? The Inspire 3 does 8K, and like the quality of it is fantastic, right?
But you need a license for that.
Yeah, I bought that license.
Oh, did you buy it? Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Never told me that.
But no, look, at the end of the day, for what you get with this drone, it is definitely, definitely a step up from the previous Mavic 3. Not sure about the Pro, but there is few components there that are worthwhile looking at. Look, so I don't know. I'm upgrading it from Mavic 3, so for me to have that 70 and 168mm lens is a big plus in D-Log, and it does, great tracking and everything else as well. We'll talk about the tracking component a little bit later on, but overall, flight time is increased. They reckon 51 minutes, which is shit, but, overall...
So what was that? Did you say it was bullshit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So DJI stating, 51-minute flight time, yeah? I've been getting about 37, 38 minutes flight time. Mind you, I don't drain the battery to the lowest. I drain the battery to about 20%.
Do you know, to get that extra 15 minutes out of it, you might need to get a license.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, you pay for the license to get the extra 15 minutes. Sorry.
But, look, so there's few, like I say, I was saying, it was a couple of different drawbacks that are kind of, that I feel like DJI could have done a bit better with that. And they really wanted to look. They're selling this drone as the infinity spin, so spin your world, where the drone or the gimbal spins 360 degrees.
So that's like as you're flying along, down, the camera will spin around in 360.
Yeah, so you essentially can spin the camera upside down, so you can see the top, bottom, top.
And keep spinning around. So it's not limited. It doesn't.
It is limited essentially, but
so it will do a 360.
It will do 400 and something degrees.
Okay, so it's not infinite.
No, it's not infinite, but it does over 360.
Oh, okay, because the Inspire didn't do 360.
No,
also.
It doesn't. So, okay, if you think about it, it spins. How can I explain this on the mic? But it spins this way, but Inspire spins this way. You know?
Okay, so vertically. Spins vertically, yeah. And the Inspire spins horizontally.
Yeah. So the main reasons, obviously, the three lenses that I purchased. I purchased the drone because of the 3 lenses, but another reason was it can actually turn the gimbal so you get a vertical shot rather than just horizontal. You know what I mean? So
but the Mini 3 does that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was hoping to get rid of the Mini 3 and just keep this one, but there is a problem with that. So basically, when the gimbal is twisted vertically, then what actually happens is you can't face the gimbal down. The gimbal only goes down 9 degrees or up 9 degrees. You know what I mean?
9 degrees is barely anything at all.
Correct, 100%. And that's the thing, like a lot of people purchase this drone. They go, oh, look, I can shoot 6K images or videos in vertical mode.
Sorry, I want to stop you off for a second there. And I mean, originally when the Mini 3 came out and it had the portrait mode, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure what I'd use it for. And then I sort of thought to myself, well, if it's for social media, right, people will be like flying this drone down towards people and taking photos of them in portrait mode and stuff like that, which is illegal because you're not allowed to be that close to people. So I was like, well, what do you use a portrait mode for? Have you ever used the portrait mode yourself?
I do use portrait mode. It's kind of hard to explain, but I use the portrait mode for like panoramas, right? So panos. Saying that though, for this drone, you can actually, there is a option where you can actually do your panos in a specific area as well and whatever else. But yes, you're right. Like you use it for social media, for Instagrams.
TikTok.
TikTok, Instagrams, and whatever else.
Well, I guess... So
6K? It's overkill, yeah?
It's overkill,
yeah, you don't need it.
Portrait is so usually so you can get a person in the picture.
Yeah.
So you're not going to fly a drone into someone's face. Well, 160 or 170 mil, you can be a kilometre away and still get a portrait.
Well, that's the thing, with this drone, like I said, you got the 3 lenses, the 28, 70, and 168.
But you'd have to be almost on ground level to be able to film.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have to elevate
because you can't twist it, you can't turn it down more than 9 degrees, it's pretty useless. And another fact is, if you want to twist it down and you start flying backwards, the gimbal starts going crazy because it can't keep up with the movement of the drone.
And,
you know what I mean?
And the air movement around.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So overall, it's a great feature, but it's also a useless feature. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
unless you're flying it at face level, and I mean, you want to do that. So I want to take a step back, if you don't mind, and we'll talk about the 360 Infinity. It's 420 or whatever it was. You said DJI came out with the gimbals. I can't remember which one it was, the RS1 or whatever it was. One of the first gimbals. Yeah, and they had, I think it was called torch mode, where you could actually hold the gimbal outwards horizontally
in front of you.
Yeah, and have the gimbal spinning around in a 360 mode. Yeah. And, there was a period where everyone used that effect for about a month.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and then it suddenly stopped because there's only so much you can handle of something spinning around. I think I actually used that effect once on a video, which it spun around and zoomed into something, and yeah, it was great for that video. I never used it again.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much this is going to be used, because I mean, once again, there's only so much you can really do as a 360 shot while you're flying through the air.
So look, to be honest with you, I kind of looked at it. I've used it once or twice, and I go, meh. You know what I mean? So it's a feature that's there, but I don't think you'll use it for a client shoot. If you want to be more creative or, you know, artistic or whatever else, yeah, you might use it. You know what I mean? But the thing is,
it's limited on how much you can use it. I mean, after you've used it once or twice, you can't.
Yeah, it's a sales gimmick from DJI, essentially. Spin your world. That's what they're advertising this drone at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole idea of this drone is just better quality cameras. You know what I mean? And that's the whole point. One of the reasons why people buy it. You know what I mean? What I am disappointed with though is a 28mm lens. So last week I was with a client, and I was actually flying the drone inside a factory, right? Now, flying inside a big factory, it's kind of, you want to go quite wide, right? And 24mm is pretty much one of the best sort of, you know, sizes. You know, you don't want to go, you start distorting on the side. So 24mm. Now, this drone here, the new one, the 4, with the 28mm lens, I was struggling to go back and to be able to get the whole factory in, you know, in frame. You know what I mean?
Is that because it's not 28mm wide, or is it? What was the
Yeah,
reason?
so the old Mavic has got 24mm.
Mm-hmm.
The new one's 28mm, right? So narrower vision of view.
Yeah, granted, right. But it's only 4mm, so it's not a huge amount of difference.
You'll think that, yeah. So I know what you're saying, but in real life scenarios, I found that 4mm was a big deal.
Is it because potentially, even though it's saying it's 24 or whatever it is, 28, it's actually not that, it's bigger, similar to what happened with my previous lens where
Maybe.
I had two side by side and one was bigger than the other, like a zoom was?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But, you know, like people have been testing them side by side with the 3 and the 4. And yeah, look, the 4 does have a narrower vision of view. You know what I mean?
Is it,
and
is it distortion, and when it corrects the distortion, it
no,
makes it even...
No, I don't think so.
Because
it's just
that's
overall,
what happens with a lot of lenses. You get, it's sure it can do 24mm, but you can't use 24mm because it's so distorted that when you straighten it up, it's like 28.
Usually 24mm. I found the Mavic 3 24mm. It's really good. I actually really got used to that sort of field of view. With this new one, I actually took the drone above the factory, like just to show the solar panels and everything else, and I was flying it. And all of a sudden, I hit 120 meters, because legal height for a flying drone is 120 meters.
Yeah.
And literally, I hit that in straight away. You know what I mean? I was actually really surprised that I actually hit 120 meters. So I feel like that 28mm gives you a lot narrower field of view, and you got to go almost higher to be able to achieve what you wanted to achieve with the 24mm. Do you know what I mean?
Can I ask, and this is going to be a stupid question.
There we go, yes.
No.
Go on.
Early video cameras that I used to use for sporting events and stuff like that were never wide enough. And what we did was we actually we went off and got an extender, so it sort of screwed into the filter on the front.
Oh, yeah.
And it actually made the image a lot wider than what it was, so it was almost doubled it. And it was good quality. It wasn't distorting or anything. It was actually good quality. Can you put anything on the front of these, or there's no?
On the 3, yes. I've actually got a anamorphic lens for the 3, and it does actually work quite good.
It doesn't distort or anything like that.
No, I've noticed in post production you got to sort of, you know,
tweak it
and stuff. But overall, it's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? So the 3, you can get third party lenses for them, and then make the 24-bit wider, essentially. Or
so there is a chance that something might come
potentially
out.
Could, yes. Yep. A lot of people are saying, though, because of the gimbal and the props and everything else, if you go wider, you might get props in the view. Yeah. That's the problem, too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So another thing with this drone...
I'm looking at it at the moment, and the camera is actually recessed behind the blade, so it would actually happen.
Yeah, potentially it would. So yeah, another issue with this is it's almost like DJI rushed this release of this particular drone, and so the issue also is if we all know that if you're shooting something video, you want to be able to double the shutter speed compared to the focal length, right?
Yep.
So so this is 28, so you essentially want to shoot around sort of 50, 60, This drone does not come with ND filters just yet. You can't buy ND filters just yet. Actually, you can buy clip-on, clip-off ND filters for it, but essentially this drone was designed to buy electronic filters, and you can't buy them just yet.
Ooh,
so the DJI has actually developed this new filter, which is still to be released, which is electronic ND filter, which you can actually change the exposure. So you know how you're
darkens out.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be, I don't actually know, but
I'm guessing it might be motorized. Is that what they mean by electronic?
Yeah, so it's electronic filter. So my Sony FX6, for instance, that's got electronic filters as well on it, right? So you can actually tweak it and it will go darker or lighter. This thing does actually have the same thing. So it's got prongs on the inside. When you take that filter off, it does come with a couple of gold prongs. So you can actually, once you put that filter on, you'll be able to control it up and down, the exposure. You know what I mean? Which is kind of really good idea. If it's going to work or not, yet to be confirmed. You know what I mean?
And what's the cost? Do you have any idea?
No idea. Yeah, it's not going to be cheap. 100% it's not going to be fucking cheap.
Nothing's ever cheap, though.
Especially DJI. I mean, DJI owns like 75-80% of the market rate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In drones. So they obviously capitalizing on that a lot, and they dictating what they want to do, you know what I mean? Their stuff is probably the best on the market though, from a quality, you know what I mean? So yeah, look, another thing that I wanted to sort of mention was, hang on, let me go back to my notes. Yeah, so there's a couple of benefits actually. The controller, for instance, has a wheel on it, right? And with a wheel, when you click on the wheel, you can actually change aperture, shutter speed. You can change a few other exposure things, which is great. However, you can't change a white balance on it, for instance, you know what I mean? So if you're flying in certain locations or whatever else, you want to change the white balance quickly, you have to go through the menu system where, it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I don't visualize the white balance being the need for changing the white balance once you're actually out there. I mean,
when you're flying from the inside out,
if you're doing that, different story. Yeah.
So it would be nice to have, if it's I just thought I'd mention it. That's all. The waypoint system on this, it's needs to be updated as well. So when you set your waypoints, so when you're flying from A to B to 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, the drone will only do what you set the waypoints to. So you can't actually move the gimbal anymore. You know what I mean? So if you want to be able to move the gimbal up or down or left or right or whatever else, you can't do that. Do you know what I mean?
So even though you're flying a pattern, you can't actually
manually move the gimbal, which is crap. You know what I mean? So that's
a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, look, and that can be fixed in software updates. That's one of the reasons why I'm thinking they've rushed this drone, because just to get it out there. You know what I mean? And because of tariffs and everything else, this drone's not actually available in the States. You know what I mean? People have been buying them from Canada and from UK, shipping it back to States to be able to, Okay, cool. So, the vertical mode, for instance, as well, right? So as soon as you put the drone into vertical mode, the drone slows down to like literally 9 meters per second or whatever. Like something really crazy slow.
Yeah, so you can't actually. So you don't fly straight into your person that you're filming.
Well, yeah, essentially. But yeah, so this drone is useless in the vertical mode. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Anything, as soon as you put that drone into vertical mode, all the features are rubbish. You know what I mean? So comparing this to the Mavic 3 and essentially your Mini 3 as well, we've got the Master Shot. Have you used the Master Shot?
Yeah, all the time.
So
because I'm too lazy to do anything myself.
It's great.
Yeah.
But you can't shoot. So we're in Australia, Europe, whatever else. You can't shoot master shots in 25 frames per second. You can only shoot at 30. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I actually have.
Yeah. So this thing, exactly the same thing. They have not fixed that issue where they just locking it down to 30 frames per second rather than 30 or 60 frames per second or whatever it is. But you can't shoot it on 25 or 50. You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, that's great to have it, but you have to shoot the whole video in 30.
Yeah, so if you're doing fill-in stuff with a normal DSLR, you've got to convert it over, which is actually something that's always caused me grief whenever I'm using the Mini, because I don't use 30, so I just automatically put it into a 25 or a 50.
Yeah.
And look, it's not horrific, but it's not great either.
Yeah, look, there's works around it in post. That's fine. But, like, if you got a feature, and it's an easy fix as far as I'm concerned. It's just a software update, right? The drone shoots in 25, it shoots in 50, it shoots in 100. You know what I mean? So why can't you do that in a master shot thing? You know what I mean?
There must be some underlying reason, though.
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, the Mavic 3 doesn't have that feature as well. And Mavic 4 is exactly the same thing. So it's almost like they copy and pasted the settings from the 3 to 4.
Unless there's an underlying factor to it, which we're not aware of.
Don't know.
But I have actually found it a bit weird when doing recordings on my drone. But
yeah, it's a great feature because, you know what, like sometimes you just want to be able to select that point and let the drone do the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's bloody fantastic. You know what I mean? But, there's obviously a couple of letdowns, yeah, so from that space. Hey, I found another issue with this as well, and that was a bit of a downer. So when I shot last week, and I shot the client, I go, all right, I'm going to give them the best quality as possible that the drone can do, right? So I shot everything in 6K, all I codec, which is like huge files, really easy on editing, and fantastic look again. I got home, I've got the M2 Studio Mac, latest and greatest Mac, yeah. Boom, can't play it, can't put it into Final Cut or DaVinci or try different software, couldn't do it. I was freaking out, man. I'm telling you, I was freaking out.
And this was the point when you reached out to me and
then I reached out to you.
Hey, Evan.
Yeah, so I've uploaded that file, one of the files, smaller files, because I mean those files are huge. Yeah, we're talking about 4 or 5 gigs for I think like a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've uploaded a small one and I sent it to you, and then I said to you, try it. I was like freaking out. Did you get it? Like, yeah, it's a client shoot, man. So you don't want to stuff this up.
What was the first thing I said to you? I said, did you buy the license to use the footage?
Yeah, that's right.
Because DJI, you got to buy a license to do everything. You want to use the footage? No, there's a license for that as well.
Yeah.
So that was my first question to you. But as it ended up, I could actually use the footage.
Yeah, you did. And you are on PC and DaVinci Resolve, right?
Yes.
So
and mind you, it wasn't DaVinci Resolve. I just opened up in the standard Microsoft Media Player. Which is pretty dismal to say the least. It hardly ever works for anything, but it actually worked perfectly. I mean, 6K on my system did jitter a little bit because 6K is actually quite a big file unless you're running a proxies. But it worked and it was crystal clear, and I saw it. I mean, it stopped and judder a little bit and then continue on, which is what happens when you have, when I was using 6 or 8K from my cameras, exactly the same thing would happen. So, but it worked. It worked actually quite well. And then DaVinci Resolve, it still had a little bit of roughness around it because I was still using the original file. I didn't create a proxy. It was better. DaVinci did actually play it quite well. But yeah, I didn't have any problems at all.
Well, yeah, obviously, because so then I did a bit of searching for it, and what I found out is that Mac does not have a hardware acceleration for that particular codec file. So Apple is apparently talking to DJI to resolve this issue to be able to play it, because I can, on my Mac, my Inspire 3 files, 8K files, 8K 50, I can play without any problems. It's smooth, no stress at all. But when I tried to play the 6K file from this particular drone, it froze. It was just doing stupid stuff, and I was just freaking out because of the client shoot. Yeah, so I didn't have to want to be able to go out there, reshoot the whole thing again. So then what I did was, and what saved me was, so Sony has this software called Catalyst Browse, which you can actually grade all the files on, all the data and everything else. So I uploaded that file to Catalyst Browse, and I had to transcode that file to a codec that obviously Apple worked with. And so that actually took probably about 3 hours to do so because I had a fair bit of data.
I find it interesting, well, confusing more than interesting, I should say, that each one of the drones has its own file format. It's like, why is there no consistency?
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you actually in desperation downloaded DaVinci Resolve, which I never thought I'd ever see the day you were going to do that.
I've got a license for it. That's not a problem. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I just don't use it because I'm just too heavily involved in Final Cut.
But it didn't actually help at all, did it?
No.
So even with DaVinci, which basically can show almost any footage, on the Mac, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it still didn't work because of the fact that Mac can't play, or Apple can't play that particular format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's actually funny because, I mean, I've always had this thing about Macs. Macs are fantastic, don't get me wrong. But the market share is actually not Mac when it comes to computers. A lot of people are PCs or the mobile phones.
For creatives, as you know,
Mac is
basically the way to go, right? But yes, you're right. I mean, Mac is a lot more expensive for exactly the same specs or more than what the Apple is at, for instance. You know what I mean?
So your computers have always costed you twice as much as what mine have.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Saying that though, I mean, I don't upgrade my computers very often. I don't know when was the last time but last Mac that I had probably had about 6 years.
Yeah, I've got my current PC 6 years now and still running strong. I am struggling a little bit with my photos, ironically, not video, but photos. Really? Yeah, because my files are huge on the R5C. But video-wise, still perfect. There's no problem at all.
Yeah. Interesting. Look, I don't know. It's I like the Mac infrastructure because I'm all integrated to my phone, to everything else that I use, you know what I mean? And I can airdrop things, I can, just copy and paste, and literally any device that I have, it will basically be, anyway, so go back to Mavic 4 Pro. So the other day actually was, I'm joining forces with the other guy, one of the other sort of guys that we fly with, and he's actually got a big drone, right? So he's got a fly cart. Have you heard of fly carts?
No. Does he need a suitcase that he drags around ovals?
Oh, mate, you need a whole trailer for that.
That's how big it is.
That's how big it is. So fly cart is basically, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm telling you all this now, but fly cart, what it is, it's a really big drone. It's essentially, if you see the carpet that you're on, it's virtually probably more than half of that. Do you know what I mean? It's huge, right? So
you could literally lift me up off this chair with it.
Exactly. So this drone is actually used for instance, transporting heavy items, right? So like solar panels. If someone's building a house in the middle of nowhere and they need to transport solar panels 2-3 kilometers, they use that drone to be able to lift up the solar panel, drop it down, and then keep on doing that. You know what I mean? So I've teamed up with this one of the other companies, or one of the other guys. He purchased one to basically do a flag raising, like, when they used to fly off the plane, they jump off the skydive with the flag behind them and then show the flag on the stadium or whatever else. He does exactly the same thing with a flight cart. So anyway, going back to my thing, so I was actually using the tracking feature to be able to track. So I was circling around that flight cart drone. This is the massive drone. And I've selected that drone to be able to, for Mavic 4, to follow it, you know what I mean, and go around it. Once I lost that subject, I could not gain control of the Mavic 4 unless I actually stopped the tracking manually. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to visualize. So what actually happened when you lost the tracking? Did it just stop in
mid-flight? It just kept on going. No. It just kept on flying, and I was trying to look for that flight cart for the tracking that
was it doing circles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
but the problem is,
there's also a chance that would have gone into the other drone.
Exactly. And in fact, it was actually going for a tree, which has got sensors, so it did stop. But you know what I mean. At the end of the day, is the tracking component needs to be improved a little bit more on that, on different items. So I've tested it so it tracks me. So I've selected myself, put the controller down, and then basically ran through trees and everything else, and it tracked me perfectly. You know what I mean? It tracked me. It went behind the trees. It went around the trees, and there's no problem.
So it lost the track, but then found it again and continued.
Yeah. It found me. So for tracking humans, tracking cars, for instance, perfect. It works really well. It finds the car actually even with quite far away. It still locates the car, and then AI tracks it. However, if if it's another drone or another item that doesn't have it in the database, it just loses its shit.
Sorry, is it possible that, what was the color of the drone?
Same as this grey.
So it was a contrasty sort of, because I know that some tracking on cameras and all that have problems when things are white, for example. There's no contrast, and they lose sight of what they're meant to be tracking. And I thought maybe that was the case, but obviously not. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So look, that can be fixed in a software update. That's 100%. No problems with that. I just think it's just there's a couple of things that needs to be fixed, and I just like, everyone's saying how amazing this drone is, but you got to be careful what you're actually trying to do with it. You know what I mean? Because you can crash it.
I think the problem with a lot of reviews are that people just like to say positive things. They actually haven't tested them.
Yeah.
They've heard other people say positive things, so they just follow suit.
Yeah.
As opposed to ourselves who go out and actually try things and then discover that, oh shit, it doesn't work or it doesn't do this, and 100%. Then we report back. So that's probably one of the big things that we do that others don't. It's interesting. So who would this drone be for? Like,
look, I think, and look, one of the reasons why I bought this drone because it's packed full of features. You know what I mean? And I stand by that. I reckon it's great piece of hardware. And definitely for someone like me and you, creative, it's definitely worthwhile getting. You know what I mean? The issues that I've mentioned, they can be fixed. I mean,
can, but might not.
Well, don't know, because DJI is obviously, they're definitely not listening to us because they haven't contacted us. But no, it's just, look, we are a small fish in a big ocean. You know what I mean? Yes, this drone is potentially for anyone that is making money out of creating videos for clients.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Would a normal, son and dad team who just want to fly a drone go out and buy this?
Probably not.
Okay, so it's overkill for that?
Yeah, I think it's overkill for that.
Even with the 360 Infinity?
Yeah. Look, I think, the drone that you have, the Mini 3, I've got that as well, and I reckon it's really fantastic drone.
I love it.
Mini 4 is fantastic, and it's actually
positive things,
it's so, like, the price wise, it's 1/3 or even less than what this drone is at, and you can still achieve what you achieve with this. You know what I mean? So you still got your tracking, you still got your master shots, you still got 10 of other things that you can actually use it. Yes, you have to be a bit more careful because like the Mini 3 doesn't have sensors on the side, so when you're flying sideways you can crash. Be mindful of that. But I think if anyone's in for on the market for a drone, the Mavic 3, it is still phenomenal. You know what I mean? Unless you start using your zoom lenses, you can achieve so much. I mean, the other day, I don't know if you saw on Instagram, I posted the 3 videos as well, but it was from the city. I was flying at a sunrise in the city, in Docklands, in Melbourne.
No, I can't say I've seen that one. No.
So anyway, I posted that, and there's been a number of people saying, "Whoa, that Inspire 3 is amazing." And in fact, it was actually shot with the Mavic 3. Do you know what I mean? So you can still achieve amazing results with the Mavic 3. And there's so many of them on the marketplace at the moment that you can pick up a real bargain. You know what I mean? I'm kind of tempted to put my one on the marketplace because I got the 4 Pro, but I'm still in love with it. You know what I mean? So I might hold on to it for a little bit longer.
Oh, but makes sense.
Yeah. So look, tons of features on this new one, and I think it's definitely worthwhile. I think what DJI did was a bit of a boo-boo as well, and they sort of shot themselves in the foot. But so this is the creator combo, which is like the top of the range. So you got the 7-inch screen monitor, and you can turn that sideways and all that sort of stuff. And then internal, it's 512 gigs of memory. And it's got a few other bits and pieces that are kind of worthwhile as a creator combo. But you can purchase this drone also on a cheaper end as well, so with all the remote control, and it doesn't come with the 512 gigs of internal storage.
Can I use the Mini 3 controller for this?
Yeah.
So it still does work as opposed to...
Oh, actually no, not 3, 4.
4. Okay, so they've changed it again. Okay, so I was just going to say, because with the Inspire, you couldn't use the controls on the previous one, so which is a bit of a letdown.
Which is correct, yeah. And this is the newer technology, so I think from the Mini 4, you can use it on this, but not the Mini 3, if that makes sense. But look, overall, definitely worthwhile looking into this. You know what I mean? If you are up for if you're upgrading from a Mavic 2, yeah, definitely will be beneficial if you're going to use those extra bits and pieces. You know what I mean? The zoom lenses, the extra codecs, and the extra resolution and all that sort of stuff. Definitely. I've paid over $5,000 for this drone. If I had a Mavic 3 Pro with the 3 lenses, I wouldn't probably purchased it.
And you've also got the problem with the not being able to use it on a Mac, the footage.
Well, the 6K footage, yeah, in all I codec. But I can still use it. I've tested it. So the 6K in HAVC, I think it is, or H.265, that's still usable. Not the all AI codec.
The irony behind it is the 265 I can't use on my computer.
Oh, is that because it's too compressed? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so I could use the normal one that you sent me, but I wouldn't be able to use the 265.
Yeah, okay.
So, interesting.
Yeah, because it's obviously a lot more intensive on the system.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, it plays fine on my Mac, no problems whatsoever. It's really smooth and it's working fantastically well. The only thing is, I wanted to obviously have that extra, quality, which.
And a bit more width to your shots.
Well, it would be nice, yeah. Like I said, I think the biggest drawback on this drone is the 28mm lens for me personally. I mean, it could not be for anybody else. If you're flying, out, like if I'm shooting a city from far away, I can still move the drone further back, you know what I mean, and get that angle, you know what I mean. But when I was shooting it for inside a factory and I couldn't have that space, because there was a wall right there and I had to get the whole, factory for a client. Footage turned out fantastic, don't get me wrong. It's just that extra width would be nice.
It would be. It would be.
Also, it comes with a 100 megapixel camera on it as well. But they're all saying it's not a true 100 megapixel too. So if they
until you buy the license for it.
Yeah, no, it comes with it, but it's I think someone's compared it. I've watched one of the other guys. He compared it to another handheld camera. I can't remember what camera it was, but it was a 100 megapixel camera, and then he put this on the tripod. He did the same thing, and the 100 megapixel camera, handheld camera, was still better quality than this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Essentially, this is a 48 megapixel, which is really good as well. So it's, look, they've definitely included better resolution, more features. If it's worth it, yeah, it's worth it. But on obviously other pieces that are suffering as well. So.
The reality behind it is it's a $5,000 camera. Right, on wings.
On wings, yeah. Or on propellers.
On propellers, yeah. So an average schmuck like me, it would be overkill.
Yeah.
I would, to be honest, and you'd need a license for this, I'm presuming?
No, it's just over a kilo, so you still in Australia, as long as the drone's under 2 kilos, you're still fine.
Okay, all right.
Well, yeah, there's a grey area with everything. But
for commercial use?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, like you still have to have your REPL, your license to be able to use it. But that's pretty much...
Which I don't have because I don't use drones for that reason. Yeah, I call you whenever I need drone
That's
work,
right,
so.
yeah. But I think in Australia you can still use it commercially under 2 kilos drone, but in certain aspects of it, to be honest with you, I can't actually remember what it is, but it's, like your 250 gram drone that you've got.
Yep. 249.
249.
Yeah. Yes.
It's perfectly fine. But yeah, it's with the laws and regulations and everything else, there's grey areas for everything, man. So, you just got to be safe and you got to make sure that you're not putting anyone in risk. That's the main thing. You got your drone line of sight to make sure you got your GPS, fixed. There is, few things that can go wrong, but as long as you can keep on top of it, you'll be fine.
Like doing portrait shots from 10 kilometers away and flying at people. because you can't go fast.
You can't go fast, and you can't tilt the camera too much.
That's the safety feature. There you go. That's what it is. It's
but
a
look,
safety feature.
Yeah. So look, I just thought I'd make this episode more about, like, you can watch a ton of YouTube videos from everybody else to say how amazing this is and how fantastic and awesome and everything else. It is, but it's just a lot of people are not talking about the downsides of it. And if it's still worth you getting one, if you had a Mavic 3, for instance, 3 Pro, I don't know. Anyway, that's my 5 cents for the Mavic 4. But yeah, no, I enjoy it. I actually really enjoy it, and I think it's stable in the air, very stable in the air, and there's a couple of good features in it too. Yeah, so I just hopefully they will fix, the things that I mentioned.
Hopefully,
software. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Actually, I might take this moment to thank and welcome our newest listeners. We actually never really discuss the podcast and our listening base. Predominantly out of Australia. Our next biggest listenership comes from the United States, followed by Germany.
Oh.
And for a very long time, we've never been able to get anyone in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
But as of last week, we actually have people listening to us in Africa.
Ooh.
So, hello to everyone in Africa.
Hello. I don't know how do you say it, different languages, but,
I'm useless at different languages. But it's always interesting to look at the statistics, and it's been consistent. Australia, America, Germany was a more recent sort of inclusion. We basically get listeners from all across the world.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very impressive.
I'm hoping those listeners can share the episodes so people, from other parts of the world can listen to us as well and, experience what we are experiencing. And there's plenty of more episodes coming up. We're almost hitting episode 50. It's going to be fantastic. We should do a party.
We should. And I'm actually currently working on another episode in the future, doing a bit of planning, where we're going to have a special guest from another country.
Yay.
So just trying to figure out the time zones and having
that's the tricky part, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting episode. Currently in the formation sort of stage.
Yeah. Nice.
But they're actually in Germany.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So
they're listening. That's great.
Yeah.
Guten Tag.
Well, I'm glad you know how to say that because I don't.
Yeah. I don't know much German, but I know basic stuff.
I only know curse words in multiple languages. It really doesn't help me very much when I'm traveling. But there you have it. So welcome to all our new listeners and to our old listeners as well. Yep. And share the word around.
Definitely.
If you've any questions, please feel free to send us an email.
Just message us through the social media platform. I reckon that's fine. Because you're taking care of the Facebook stuff and I'll take care of the Instagram stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
Except you do a lot better a job at it. But
I'll try. You are pretty useless at that stuff. So
I am. But mine is more strategic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't do anything strategically.
Well, hopefully you recover from your accident still and get back on your feet, and hopefully we can go to for a walk in the city, take some photos maybe.
That'd be sensational. Well, thank you very much, Marty. Thank you to everyone who's been listening.
Cheers.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye.